Hello everyone, I'm Nini FC, this is Blue Lines TV. Welcome to the match review of our 2-0 win over Fulham in the London derby today. You guys, it was a very efficient performance, but there were quite a few interesting talking points that did come out from this game. I'm going to be talking about the performances of our fullbacks. I'm going to be talking about Giroud. I'm going to be talking about Ruben, Hazard, plus many more things, so make sure you stay tuned. If you like this video, smash that like button. Help me get more than 500 likes for today's video and press the bell notification button if you haven't to stay tuned to all things Blue Lines TV. But anyway, getting straight into the lineup, and yeah, it wasn't really much of a surprise. I think the only surprise was that Ross Barkley had an injury, so maybe that was the fortune that Ruben LOFTUS did need, because otherwise, I mean, it's safe to assume that SARRI most likely would have gone for Ross over Ruben, but I'll talk about Ruben later on in this match review. But again, you know, other than that, Pedro starting, and I think Pedro showed today why I think he is the first choice starter on the right hand side. Now, it's not even because I think he's an amazing player compared to Willian. I think they're both kind of the same in terms of their quality and their end product, but I think one thing Pedro has, which Willian's been unfortunate to never has, is that ability to be able to use his left foot. And that's how we got the first goal through that. Now, if that was someone like, you know, a Hazard or someone like Willian, they'd have tried to aim a shot for the bottom left corner, and, you know, the accuracy becomes much harder. But because Pedro does have 2 feet and he can use his left foot, he opened up his body amazingly well to put it in the bottom left corner. And that's the type of extra bonuses you get down that right hand side. I personally feel, you know, when you do have someone who does have a left foot down that side. But even before that, I think, you know, fantastic play by Kante. And for everyone that's still questioning Sarri's methods and still not understanding why Kante is playing in this new role, well, I think this game really showed today why Sarri knows what he's doing. And this is how you get the best out of N'Golo Kante. Now, as I've been saying, I think the issue people have is when they see Kante down that right-hand side, they assume that he needs to have an attacking influence, which he doesn't, because he's not in the team through his creativity. That should come through the fullback or the guy down the right-hand side. But as we saw there, Kante's ability to win back possession, only a few players like him are able to actually win back turnovers quite efficiently. You know, anytime Kante wins a tackle, he rarely gives away a foul. He dispossesses his opponent very cleanly. And because he's very good technically, because Kante knows what to do with the ball before he receives it, he's able to actually really help our midfield play, because he wins back possession quickly, passes it to the next person, and that's how we can build from there. And I think Kante showed exactly why Sarri knows what he's doing. But other than that, you know, I need to talk about Fulham's tactics briefly. Now, Fulham used an approach very similar to the one that Spurs used against us, and you know, if teams like Fulham now are using this type of mid-block tactic, then I can expect more teams to use a very similar tactic against us. Now, what Fulham had was they had Tom Cairney man-marking Jorginho, which is, you know, quite common. And then they had Mitrovic and they had Sessegnon pushing up front with Mitrovic to create a front two. So they basically had a diamond in midfield, when, of course, they were off the ball. But I personally feel that Fulham didn't really press us as hard. They didn't get tight enough to us to really cause us too many issues from playing out from the back. So I didn't really think they affected us in that regards. But I mean, you know, as the game was going on, I must say it wasn't the best performance. It was quite efficient in the end. But in particular, I was seeing quite a lot of poor plays in the final third. And that was the most frustrating thing. You know, not only did we not look very creative in the final third, whenever players had the responsibility to make the right pass, no one was doing that. Now, one player I'm going to talk about for a bit is Marcus Alonso, and I have to say, quite poor today. Quite poor. His delivery was very shocking, very poor. He constantly either overhits a cross or hits the first man, and it's quite annoying. You know, he's quite a limited player in that sense. Now, yes, you know, he has that ability to drift inside the opposition box to be a goal threat. But I personally feel managers only use that tactic because we don't have many tall players in the team. And sometimes if you want to put crosses in a game, Alonso can be the option. But I just don't think creatively or offensively he is that amazing. Now, at the start of the season, I thought he was improving in this regard. He had some good form at the start. I mistook that form for him developing as a player. I think he's kind of regressed a bit. I'm not really seeing too much from him this game in particular. He really highlighted the difference between Emerson's performance against PLOK and Marcus Alonso today. Now, yes, I know against PLOK, you know, being down to 10 men, being a very weak team as well, you know, it's much easier to bomb down the left. But as we've seen with Emerson, you know, his ability to want to get to the byline, to have that direct threat, you know, to be able to produce a lot of drag back crosses inside the box as well. and he really pushes down that byline. And you don't really see Marcos Alonso do that. You know, when you look at Marcos Alonso, a lot of times his passes go backwards. He only really crosses the ball if someone like Eden Hazard's lost him. And it brings up a good point me and my friend Ollie were having in regards to Marcos Alonso. And he gave me a fantastic point when he said that Marcos Alonso is the guy that slows down Eden Hazard. And he told me that's because Hazard has to constantly drift wide to be able to help bring Alonso into the game. Because Alonso, you know, due to his pace and not being that great in the final third, can't just make a run by himself and, you know, really get in behind. He can't really be able to do that. He's not really able to do that. So this is what hampers Eden Hazard. Now, the reason why we were having this conversation in the first place was because I was looking at that game against POK, and one thing I noticed was that, wow, our combinations down the left-hand side in particular were very unusual to what we see under, you know, with Hazard and Alonso, etc., etc. It felt much more fluid and fast. And I think one of the big reasons is down to the fact that Marcos Alonso can kind of hinder the team in the final third. But you guys in the comment section below, give me your thoughts and opinions on that talking point. Do you feel that Marcos Alonso, I'm being a bit too critical and harsh on him, or do you share the same opinion I have, that he does kind of hold back the team offensively? Now, Fulham, yes, even though respect to them, they tried to play football, you know, using that midfield four, with, you know, bringing SARRI back into the team with Kenny, etc., etc. They were able to do some decent things in midfield, but Fulham's main issue, and a tactical area we exploit in them time and time again, was between the lines. You know, we were constantly able to use the width of our fullbacks to be able to create the spaces in between the lines for us to operate in, and we could see guys like Pedro and Hazard constantly, you know, find opportunities in those areas, and Fulham just weren't getting close enough or tight enough. You know, their midfield kept pressing up too high, and once they lost possession of the ball, it was very easy for us to play one or two passes straight through the middle and try to counter them. But the annoying thing was that we didn't really produce much. Now, you know, I do feel sorry for Olivier Giroud. A lot of people might think, oh, he was poor today, but I think the main context was the fact that no opportunities were great for him. Now, when players had the chance to play him in, the passes weren't coming off. I mean, I remember a pass from Jorginho in particular. Giroud made the run, Jorginho just didn't play the pass properly, and it messed up for him. And look at all those crossing opportunities too, where Giroud was able to be 1v1 with his defender. And you know that Giroud's very good aerially, but he's not getting any good delivery inside the box. So it does get frustrating. And sometimes we have to think, yeah, some of our strikers aren't necessarily the world-class kinds. But at the same time, do we make it as easy for our strikers? We really don't. He was subbed off for Murata, and to be honest, when Murata came on, he didn't really provide much of anything. Still gives away possession way too easy. And I've always said this about Murata. I don't like the fact that when he loses the ball, it's because of a 50-50 tackle. And he doesn't even win a free kick now. When I looked at other strikers like Drogba and guys like Costa, whenever they lost possession of the ball, at least they did the bare minimum of getting a free kick so we can at least keep the ball in the opponent's half. But we don't do that with Murata. So, you know, January needs to come really soon, you guys. But anyway, other than that, got to talk about Ruben Loftus-Cheek, and his introduction in the game was needed. Now, I think with Kovacic, I don't know, I think he's better defensively off the ball, and I think that's definitely one area that Ruben needs to improve in. And to be honest, I think at the stage he is already in his career, I don't really see Ruben ever developing that type of defensive nous that so many managers need and rely upon. And I do think it can be a bit harsh. I personally feel that if you've got Jorginho and Kante, and if you've got an offensive talent like Ruben, is it that bad to maybe have Kante sit a little bit deeper to allow Ruben to be, you know, great offensively on the ball? Because the guy is really the real deal when it comes to playing football. I mean, it's combination play, especially for that second goal. I mean, one thing with Ruben, whenever, before his loan spell at Crystal Palace, I felt that he didn't really play with too much confidence at times, which is completely understandable given the circumstances and context for most of his appearances. But when he played for Crystal Palace last season, the confidence is in the guy's game, especially joining the England team during the World Cup. He's come back a completely different player, and whenever the guy plays, he's producing something. A moments he remember in the game, affecting the game constantly. He came on today, his drives through midfield, which you don't really get from Ross or from Kovacic. I think with Kovacic, most of the great stuff he does is pretty supportive. But again, it's no real goals from that midfield of Kovacic, Kante, Jorginho, or even someone like Barkley. And I feel that with Ruben, who's already got, I think, 5 goals already so far this season, barely playing any minutes, he can be that link that we need in our number 8. And, I'd like Sarri to maybe be a bit more lenient. I feel sometimes if you've got such a great offensive player, like he's spoken about with Eden Hazard, Hazard doesn't have as much defensive responsibility as under previous managers. I think Ruben needs that same type of level of, love and attention, but he can express himself and do what he wants, because when the guy plays football, as I was saying, Ross Barkley wasn't doing that combination play for that second goal. Great technique and finish to finish it off. But even before that, the only reason we were able to even create that move was because earlier on, a few minutes before that, he did a fantastic driving run through the middle of midfield to play in Eden Hazard. And just compare what Ruben did to a similar thing Kante did. Kante was in a similar position and area where he was driving through midfield with the ball. Now, instead of releasing it early to Hazard, he overhits the pass to Willian down that right-hand side. The counter-attacking option was ruined. It was over. You don't get that with Ruben because he always plays the right pass as well. And I think this is the type of bonuses that you can add to your team that can help you create more goals and score more. And I think Sarri has to be a bit more lenient. Ruben is not some average technical player. If he was, I'd understand. But I personally feel he's so great offensively. I think that he is worth that risk because I think he can affect the game as he's already shown. That link-up play with him and Hazard was superb to see. I think Ruben's the real deal. But anyway, you guys, that's going to bring an end to the match for you. As I was saying, wasn't the most exciting game. Tactically, wasn't much to talk about because, as I've said, we've seen a similar tactic already. Fulham did a poor man's version of what Tottenham were able to do and didn't really have any attacking or counter-attacking threat through that because they just gave up their game, started pumping long balls to Mitrovic, and it was very easy to deal with. I think the only small thing we faced with them was that they had a very good threat from outside the box with long shots. I think that's an area that teams will always have because, again, we don't necessarily defend off the ball like we used to under previous managers, so there will be space for shots. But other than that, they didn't provide anything, and I think that's everything to do with the match review. I just want to say quickly thank you to everyone that wished me a happy birthday. I had a very good day. Expect me to release the 5 talking points video, and I'm going to release another 5 talking points video from that game against PLOK. I did do that. I do want to release it, so you guys will have 2 videos tomorrow. Thank you for watching. I'm Nini FC. This is Blue Lines TV. Signing out.